maybe they're right. I spend too much time in fantasy land. Whoa.
What does it feel like?
I always thought I wanted this kind of life. I never imagined any of this.
Get them out.
If you save one life, you save the world.
Cosmic.
I cannot get over the colors, man. Like, the colors are so freaking cool. Like, I love, like, the combination of blue and red. I know, like, some people, like, are not the biggest fan, but, like, I just think it looks like art. It just looks like art, like an artful hand.
This show is beautiful to look at. Like, every shot, they've really done a lot to just, like, make the image as vibrant and as, like, jumpy off the screen as possible. It feels like one of Miss Marvel's Kamala Khan's big hands just reaching out and slapping you in your couch. She's getting you. But we're now in the season of Kamala Khan, so let's dive into it. Welcome back to New Rockstars. Miss Marvel is a little over 1 week away. I, luckily, have been able to see the first 2 episodes this time. But hey, no spoilers here. I'm going to get to some general reactions later this show. Not even a real review, just some overall thoughts to help cushion you as you join this show, to help set the tone, to set the expectations where they really should be. But with all this debate, MT, about how this series changed Kamala Khan's powers, it's really not spoiling anything to tell all of you that the reason they changed it is actually neither because stretchy limbs are too similar to Reed Richards, nor because energy manipulation is closer in power set to Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau. No. There is a third, deeper, cooler reason why her powers look the way they do, and I'm going to begin to explain why. Kamala Khan!
Come on!
This is Inside Marvel, and now that we are staring down the month of June, this is our Miss Marvel after show here at New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss. Here with me is MT. How you doing, MT?
I can't believe it's finally here, my friend. I cannot believe it's finally Miss Marvel season. It's like, finally, she's in the MCU, and like, we're so close, and like, I can't wait to see it. You've already seen it. I'm so jealous. What'd you think? Like, overall general thoughts?
I liked it. I was smiling throughout. I'll get to some specific thoughts and reactions at later part in the show. Right. So stay with us. I will get to those. And if I look a little pink, it's not just because I'm blushing over how much I enjoyed the show. It is because I spent all weekend at Star Wars Celebration, and it was Memorial Day weekend, and I was outside. So much fun. It was so great meeting everyone, the people who said hello and took a picture either with me or of me, or people who just kind of gave me a wave. Like, it meant so much to me to connect with people and just be able to see all the cool stuff. I went to the Mando Plus panel. I went to the Mandalorian experience where they had a bunch of they had a huge bantha that talked to me. They had a Rancor. They had the N1 Starfighter. They had all the stuff from the show. It was so cool to see.
Wait, did they have a Rancor-sized Rancor?
Oh, yeah.
Get out of town. I'm so jealous.
It was so cool.
What the heck?
It was a lot of fun. Hopefully I'll be able to go next year, though it's in London. So I don't know if I can make that
it's in
trip.
London.
I guess we'll see.
Across the pond.
Well, Miss Marvel premieres next week, Wednesday, June 8th. So in this episode, we're going to give you a preview of everything you need to know headed into Miss Marvel. And I'm going to give you my no spoiler reaction to the first 2 episodes at the end of this show. And just so you know, I want a programming note to everyone watching or listening. June's going to get a little sloppy as we try to cover at the same time Obi-Wan Kenobi, Miss Marvel, and The Boys all at once. Normally, we don't do that. Normally, we just kind of cover one show at a time. But here, we're going to try to do simultaneous weekly coverage for all these shows. And you know what? New Rockstars is growing. We're going to have to learn to multitask here at this company ahead of September, when we're going to have She-Hulk and Andor and House of the Dragon and Rings of Power all at once, 4 big shows. And for those of you asking, where's our Stranger Things content? Don't worry. It's coming. It's coming this week. It's just Netflix kind of throws a wrench in all that by dropping all this stuff at once. And we don't have time to watch it all and do it all in one video. It's so much easier when it's just episode by episode. Then we can just kind of all watch it at the same time. So Netflix, if you're listening, join the dark side of weekly released content. It's not a race.
Join us. Do it.
did it. Before we talk about Miss Marvel, be sure to go over to newrockstarsmerch.com for your chance to grab our latest obsession shirt, Empire's Most Wanted. It's a limited edition shirt inspired by the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series. When you purchase it, you're going to get the chance to unlock a shout out that will appear on WikiLeaks, our Obi-Wan Kenobi after show. So check out all the new Kenobi merch options from Epic Hero Shop over at newrockstarsmerch.com. All right, MT, what are we talking about this week?
All right, bro. I gotta ask you, bro. It's like the biggest question that a lot of people got. How did Miss Kamala Khan really get her superpowers?
Yes. So for the first concept art and trailer footage back in November, really one conversation has driven the discourse over the MCU version of Kamala Khan, and that is her powers. In the comics, Kamala gets hit with a Terrigen mist that allows her to change her molecular structure so that she can stretch or embiggen her body parts. In the MCU series, they've changed it so that she can manipulate energy into crystalline shapes and shields, floating lily pads. She can make her own arm stretch out or her hand bigger in the way that Green Lantern sort of can, with like a coating of energy that changes rather than her actual hand changing shape. But to understand really what's going on with this change, we got to break down in general what we should really know about the character from the comics going into this series. So MT, why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, so the most influential comic storyline to this series is, of course, Kamala Khan's first solo series, Miss Marvel Volume 3, Number 1 in 2014 by G. Willow Wilson. Kamala Khan was made a brief cameo as a fangirl in a 2013 Captain Marvel comic, and there was such a huge reaction for that character that G. Willow Wilson conceived a new spin-off series for the character.
Yeah, and it's a really, really cool series that we highly recommend you check out. So the way in the backstory of the comics, what's going on here is Thanos has traveled to Earth looking for his son. And that leads to a conflict between Thanos and Black Bolt that led to Black Bolt detonating a Terrigen bomb that caused the Terrigen mist to spread throughout the tri-state area, including Jersey City. So Kamala Khan's a very big fan of Captain Marvel. She's a Pakistani-American teenager living in Jersey City. She's walking around, gets hit with this mist. And this mist is what causes Terrigenesis. That's how you make Inhumans in the Marvel lore. But Kamala goes into this cocoon where inside she envisions her three favorite Avengers, Captain Marvel, Captain America, and Iron Man. And initially, when she comes out of that cocoon, she actually takes the form of the blonde Carol Danvers. And then while she's in this form, she uses her limb stretching powers to save the life of the popular girl / bully Zoe Zimmer. But she won't stay a bully. She has a nice change of heart, and it's beautiful to see her character arc throughout these comics. But then later on, Kamala realizes that she doesn't need to look like Carol Danvers. She can just look like herself and still have these powers. So that's how she ends up left with this stretchy ability and a bit of a healing power, as many superheroes have. They have like rapid healing.
It's a good thing to have when you're punching bad guys, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
And of course, this 2014 Kamala Khan storyline was a major success for Marvel Comics, or else we wouldn't be here right now talking about this. And largely because of the characterization of Kamala, her sense of humor, her Pakistani-American Muslim heritage, her perspective as a fan observer of the Avengers, which is a very important perspective because that's what we are. We are fans. So like we love seeing things through her eyes. She would quickly join the Avengers, team up with the Wolverine, the grumpiest man of all time, and then team up with the Champion, which included Miles Morales, Sam Alexander Nova, Amadeus Cho Hulk, Vision's daughter Vivian, who is great, and a time-displaced Cyclops.
Yeah, it's a really fun ragtag team of young Avengers, but they are not the young Avengers necessarily. That's a different team in the MCU. We'll see. Maybe Kamala Khan will join some kind of mix of these groups with a lot of different members of it. But one thing readers and players of the game that has Kamala Khan as a point of view character really relate to about Kamala Khan's stretchy limbs is that for them, it serves as a metaphor for puberty, like parts of your body awkwardly growing out of proportion with other parts, dealing with that awkwardness and learning how to own it. You could say it's similar to Sam Raimi's take on Spider-Man, the webbing being like excreted from his wrists. Yeah, I think it's meant to be gross.
Bro,
and then you learn to be okay with that grossness.
Actually put those two together, but you're so 1000% right. Like Kamala's powers, when she first gets them, it's very puberty-like. And like, it's just, And like, I feel like a lot of teens, especially like, you know, people who used to be teens like me a long time ago, it really just feels like what is happening to me. Like my body's betrayed, like everything feels weird. So like, yeah, it's such a puberty story. But yeah, in the MCU, Kamala Khan is confirmed to return in The Marvels, aka Captain Marvel 2, alongside Brie Larson, Carol Danvers, and Teyonah Parris, Monica Rambeau in July 2023.
Yeah, and I think some of the MCU cynics may look at that future team up and then just kind of conclude, well, that must be why they're doing what they're doing. They look at all these characters being introduced as really cogs in a machine, as opposed to characters on their own journeys with their own character development arcs. I think we have to remember, though, in these Disney Plus shows, we're going to be spending 6 episodes with this person, and we're going to get to know the person on a more intimate level than we have a lot of the characters in the movies. And I think it's fair to assume that, you know, if her powers are now looking just cosmic, generally cosmic, that does seem a bit more similar to Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, and Monica Rambeau, Photon. But we don't fully know how their powers work. Even coming out of the Captain Marvel film, it was caused by a lightspeed engine, cosmic radiation from an Infinity Stone, but it wasn't exactly the Tesseract. It was like power derived from the Tesseract. And then we have no idea what's going on with Photon. We just know that when she passed through the hex wall of Westview, it powered her up. Also, some people are saying that Marvel Studios maybe just wanted to avoid similarity to Reed Richards. And I get why you might make that conclusion, but Marvel has never actually said that. In fact, here's what Kevin Feige told Empire. Let's read his quote. He said, "We adapt the comics. It's not an exact translation. Kamala came about in a very specific time within the comic book continuity. She is now coming into a very specific time within the MCU continuity, and those two things didn't match. What we will learn about where those powers come from and how they come about is specific to the MCU. You will see great comic splash panels in some of our action sequences. If you want big giant hands and arms, well, they're here in spirit, if not in stretchy plastic type ways." So reading that, my question is, what does Kevin Feige mean by, quote, a very specific time within the MCU continuity and stretchy limbs not matching with that? And there's a few explanations we can look at. A quick one that I want to dismiss is that stretchy limbs are too similar to Reed Richards. I don't think Kevin Feige would care if Kamala Khan's stretchy limbs are too similar to Reed Richards' stretchy limbs. He already brought in Reed Richards in Multiverse of Madness and did away with him quickly. If we had another character who was like Miss Incredible, you know, I don't think Helen Parr, I don't think they would really care, just because Marvel Studios has redundant power sets all over the place, and it doesn't diminish any other character. If anything, they love it when they bring back redundant powers. So like, how many super soldiers do we have in the MCU? Like, they love to make every hero and villain come from the same kind of power set. Cap versus Red Skull. They were both different versions of super soldiers. Bucky was a super soldier in the second one of those movies. Thor and Loki and Valkyrie and Jane now are all Asgardians, similar power sets. We have Hulk and a She-Hulk, similar power sets, right? So we have multiple sorcerers in the MCU with pretty much the same power sets. So I think it'd be okay to have multiple stretchy people. But if, and also, indeed, if this were true, that Marvel was worried about this at all, you would think that Marvel Studios would want to make Kamala powers different from Carol and Monica, not similar, as you were saying that they are. Like, I think they'd be worried about Kamala having the similar power sets. So one possible explanation is that this is actually what they want, is that Kamala Khan's powers will come from the same kind of origin as Captain Marvel. So if you were to press me to try to explain Captain Marvel's powers, it's some combination of Kree technology, Kree tech, I guess maybe Skrull tech, you know, cosmic tech between these two alien races, and then cosmic radiation coming from an Infinity Stone, from the Tesseract, the Space Stone. Or what we saw with Monica Rambeau, Photon, which is currently unknown. We don't know what happened to her when she was an astronaut for SWORD, but and this would have been before the blip. But in her case, it's some mix of cosmic radiation because she passed through the hex wall, which is made up of CMBR, cosmic microwave background radiation, and it's something else extraterrestrial as an astronaut. We don't fully know yet what her backstory will be.
She was touched by E.T. right on the nose.
Right on the nose. And it works. But again, I have seen the first 2 episodes. I'm not going to discuss the origins of their powers because that isn't even fully answered in the first 2 episodes, so I couldn't even spoil it even if I wanted to.
Right.
But just going by the trailer footage alone, we could derive a lot of this. Her powers seem to come from these bracelet cuffs. And these cuffs may have an alien origin. They might be Kree designs. We don't really know yet. But I think we're all missing the context within which Kamala finds these cuffs. They're hidden in her own family's attic. These are artifacts tied to her own family history. They might be alien originally, but that part of it is not as important as the way they represent her Pakistani heritage. And I think that is going to be the key thing we explore. I think the creatives behind this show saw that maybe superpowers as a metaphor for puberty is already kind of done with things like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and Shazam. We have an opportunity here to view superpowers as they intersect with a young Pakistani American's family history. And I think that is a very interesting direction to go. And when you think about Kevin Feige's quote, what that means, a very specific time in MCU continuity, I don't think he's referring to rainbow-colored cosmic whatever. Is that really the period we're now in the MCU timeline? We don't know what that is, that kind of like cosmic energy that I'm manipulating, and it's all super vague. I don't think Kevin Feige's like eager to make that the definitive symbol and the definitive theme of this era. I think what he's referring to, MT, is religion, what we believe, whom we pray to. And when you think about it, we're all wondering what direction MCU Phase 4 is going. Look at the titles: Eternals, Moon Knight, Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, to an extent, The Darkhold and Multiverse of Madness. All of these titles are about spirituality, belief systems, afterlives, sacred texts, gods. And Kamala Khan's world, as a devout Muslim teenager, well, I don't know how devout she is personally, but her family's very devout, fits perfectly into that. So whatever origin this series gives those cuffs, again, I still do not know originally how they got into her family's attic, but I think their importance will be tied to the faith of her Pakistani Muslim family. And just to be clear here, I am not saying that the MCU is going to depict Allah or the Prophet Muhammad seated alongside Zeus in Love and Thunder. I think that would be pretty problematic in a lot of ways. But I do think whatever magic or tech is in these bracelets is at least activated or connected to Kamala's religious beliefs. And I think we're going to learn how everybody who prays, everyone who believes, who is a devout anything in this universe, has a certain kind of power, unlocks a certain kind of ability that takes a different form depending on who you are and whom you pray to. But that's going to be a core part of human identity, is having something to believe in or someone to believe in.
I really like that connection that you made, like, because like you're really right, because like this phase is very spiritual based and it's very like religious-y in a way, with like, especially with Moon Knight. This is so true, and like I feel like faith is going to be a huge part of like the way this next phase moves, and like especially with Kamala Khan and like her own, like not just with her faith in like her religion, but like also just a faith in herself. And I feel like believing in yourself is going to be a huge theme of this show. And like I feel like that there's going to be that connection between like belief in yourself, maybe like a spiritual belief that like, you know, is going to carry this phase forward, is probably just going to carry this show forward. So like I really love that connection. I never made that like connection before. It's because it's so true.
And I think the MCU's not going to be so bold as saying a major world religion has some kind of like fictional counterpart in the MCU. No, I'm not saying that, because up until now, all the religions that they've kind of adopted are either really, really old mythology style ones, like Norse mythology or Egyptian mythology, or like Wakandan mythology. And you don't have like active churches right now who are praying to those kind of belief systems, whereas Islam is obviously massive across the world. So I don't think they're doing that, but I think what they're saying is that the things that are important to you and your spiritual beliefs, when this kind of magic or this kind of technology makes a connection with you, it allows what is in your heart to dictate what your reality is. We've talked about that a lot, MT, with like Wanda Maximoff, with people who can manipulate reality around them, with the quantum realm. Even quantum realm has that kind of like thought dictates reality essence to it, and that is directly from the pages of Kamala Khan's 2014 arc with G. Willow Wilson. Like that, when she goes in that cocoon, it really is just what's in her mind, and then that ends up, it's like a wish fulfillment aspect.
Yeah.
But the MCU is challenged to do that in a different way that we haven't seen before. It can't just be Shazam, right? It can't just be Spider-Man. It can't just be like a kid. It needs to be something that is specific to her. And I think the shape of this magic or this energy, this cosmic energy, it is cosmic in nature, of course. The fact that it is like tactile, it is crystalline, but it's still brittle. It can still be shot at and crumbled, you know? I think that's going to be something specific to her family history.
Like, I'm wondering with the Kevin Feige quote, like in regards to like the MCU not being there, or like at the specific time or whatever he was saying. Like, I wonder if he's referring to like the Terrigen bomb, like you were bringing up earlier, because like I wonder if that's going to be introduced into the MCU eventually. But Kevin Feige's like, we haven't got to the bomb yet, so because we haven't got to the bomb, here are these beautiful powers. Enjoy them for now, and then later we'll get really stretchy and weird and have a big hand like you like them. But like, I wonder if we're gonna get that bomb, because I would love to see, because like that was
maybe
one of my favorite parts in that whole.
And I think we are ready for Terrigen Mist in the MCU. If we're ready for all the other crap that they're putting in these shows and in these movies, I think we're ready for that too. Like, come on, how many years is like the Marvel franchise really going to be relevant? Just start cashing in on it all, right? Like, and then you can heighten it from other places from there. I don't know. That's my biggest gripe with the MCU right now is like, we're not ready for mutants yet. We've been ready for mutants for like 10 years.
It's so true. We're always ready for mutants. When are we not ready for mutants?
What are we waiting for? Like, just you could have doubled your Disney Plus subscribers if you just announced an Aurora Monroe Storm series at Disney Plus Day back in November. Just don't even give a release date. Just say, we're doing Storm. And then everyone's like, I'm going to subscribe because X-Men are here now. And Storm is awesome. Like, it's why are they waiting? Well, like, yes, please. Oh, thank you for announcing an Echo series. Great. Okay, cool. I like Echo, but like, you have a ton of really cool characters who do a lot for a lot of fans. Anyway, but I think the thing with Kamala Khan's powers, I'm not so attached because I was not a teenager when I was reading those Kamala Khan comics. So I didn't necessarily need like her hands to be able to stretch or whatever. And it looks like from trailer footage, she has a big hand. She has a big fist. He's right. They're there in spirit. And I think when he says in spirit, there might be a double meaning there, right? Like, I think what he's getting at here is that it is about one's spirit, one's soul. And I think that's going to be the link with all these things. And I'll tell you, I'm enjoying the series just fine so far. It's not what the show is.
I was like very interested to hear your thoughts, because like I was like, is it good? Is it actually good? So like, I'm glad that you had a good time with it.
Well, I'm going to give you some slightly more specific takes on this in just a moment. Yes. But first, I want to thank some friends who helped us make this episode. Thank you to Helix Sleep for sponsoring this episode. With all this great new content coming out, it is important that both MT and I get a great night's sleep so that we can be well rested enough to spot all the Easter eggs, the hidden details, and that's why I'm glad to have a Helix mattress. Helix Sleep has a quiz that takes just 2 minutes to complete and matches your body type and your sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. They have soft, medium, and firm mattresses. Mattresses great for cooling you down if you sleep hot, and mattresses great for spinal alignment to prevent morning aches and pains. Both MT and I have Helix mattresses. We love them. So just go to helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel, take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to a customized mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. They have a 10-year warranty, and you get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it. It's probably why Helix was awarded the #1 best overall mattress pick of 2020 by GQ and Wired Magazine. Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel. Again, that's helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel. Also, we want to thank Raycon for sponsoring this episode. I prefer to watch all my shows on the biggest TV I can, but when I have to watch content on the go, I'm so glad to have some Raycon wireless earbuds. Raycon's everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever with optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. These earbuds stay put and feel comfortable. Raycons offer 3 sound profiles to match what you're listening to, plus noise isolation and awareness mode so that you can choose to be immersed in sound or be able to hear your surroundings when you need to. Raycons are perfect for getting great sound on the go. Raycons give you 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life. Then when you need to charge, it's super easy. You can do it wirelessly. With Raycons, you get the same quality audio as other premium audio brands, but at half the price. And Raycons everyday earbuds have over 49,000 5-star reviews. Check out Raycons wireless earbuds for yourself. Go to buyraycon.com/Marvel today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/Marvel to score 15% off. Buyraycon.com/Marvel. All right, MT, back to Miss Marvel. I want to give you my reaction to watching.
Yes, I want to hear it, bro. Like, what you think?
I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody, and I'm not even going to give you a full review because technically Disney's review embargo is still in effect until next week. But I can give you some general thoughts on this show, just to help you frame how to go into this show. I think it's helpful to have that, no spoilers, of course, but just like, what can I expect? So in many ways, Miss Marvel is going to diverge from the MCU formula because the look and the tone are just so much closer to Scott Pilgrim and Turning Red.
Yes,
Turning Red.
I love Scott
Two
Pilgrim.
movies that I really liked. It is a teenage coming of age story in the way it connects with being a superhero. So it is similar in a lot of ways to Spider-Man Homecoming, the Tom Holland MCU movies. It's about a high school kid trying to grapple with being a superhero. All the Spider-Man movies really deal with this. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, there's a lot of parallels with that. There's also movies like Shazam, we mentioned before. There's a lot of that, wish fulfillment, But if there's still any part of you that is connected with your high school self, either your own memories that you're still like trying to figure out, or maybe if you have younger siblings or kids or relatives, if you yourself are a teenager, I think anyone should be able to relate with this. I don't get the complaint like, oh, I couldn't relate with it because I'm not a kid myself. Like, it's just super charming. Like, I think if you have any kind of connection with, this is like a genre of story of kids going through, if you as an adult watch the Harry Potter movies and watch kids going through this, you can connect with a child. We were all kids ourselves at one point. So it's either going to be nostalgic for us or it's going to be humorous for us. We should all be able to relate with it. I think the only people who are going to have trouble relating with it are people who are younger than being in high school. If you're like 6 or 7 or 8, it might be hard for you to connect with this. Which, I don't know. I had older siblings as a 6, 7, and 8-year-old and watched teenage shows and movies. I watched Dawson's Creek when I was 9 years old and found a way to connect with it. So I think you can connect with this. I understand if you may not be in the mood for teenage angst. I think what you see in the trailer is what you're going to get in the show. And as with the trailer, your mileage may vary with the show. But if it's not you, if you are not in the mood to connect with teenage angst, I totally get it. But just don't turn around and tell me that you love Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because those movies are at their heart teenage angst movies. They're all kind of age things. They hit the same beats. And I think Miss Marvel is wholesome and hilarious and such a delight to watch. And I hope that everyone really loves it. And yes, we touched on in the first half of the episode how much the show goes into what it means to be a teenager who comes from a Pakistani American Muslim family that goes to a mosque and prays, and then deals with like the community within the community. Like there's just like a lot of fun world building there. And you get a sense of it. It's educational in a lot of ways. It's eye-opening in a lot of ways. And I really, really appreciated that about it. I love to watch shows about people who are just different from the world I come from. I think it's just very enlightening, and it's just wonderful. I try to watch shows.
It's just less boring. Like, why do you want to watch things that you're like only you are familiar with? Like, why would you do that? Like, it just looks so much fun.
I love both, right? So I watched Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel this weekend, A Different World. I watched Top Gun Maverick this weekend, very much loved that. And I come from a Navy pilot family. It was the world I came from, and I love that as well. So I get, things that you can connect with more. I like that. But another thing that I think is obvious from the trailers, and again, not spoiling anything here, is just how much the series embraces fandom as a concept. And I think this is the case more than any other MCU title. This series explores what it means to be a fan of the Avengers, and it places it within the MCU. And I think it's really cool because it explores both sides of it, the wild escapism, but also the limits of one's individuality by being too obsessed with things like cosplay.
Right.
And I think cosplay can be a great way to show your individuality. But I think if it becomes your world too much, and these fictional universes or these other people who are not yourself, if that's the only thing that you have, I think it can be a hole that you get trapped in. I think it helps to have a nice balance. I think it's a really cool escapism to have, to be to love a franchise, but it also can show the limits and sometimes the frustrations, the burdens of being like too obsessed with things like cosplay, right? Like you don't it's inherently a mask, and people love your costume, but they don't necessarily love you underneath.
Right.
So if it's like, it's in a fun way the issues that like Spider-Man has to deal with. Like they love the Spider-Man, or they hate the Spider-Man. They just don't know the person underneath the mask. So it's a fun character arc for Kamala to have to go through, to have to figure out who she is underneath this costume. And is she just a Captain Marvel fangirl, or is she her own superhero? I think that's
I really
the arc.
love that. Like, I never really thought about, like, imagine cosplaying somebody in real life, like somebody that actually exists, that's actually a hero. I feel like that changes your psyche. That changes, like, because like when people cosplay, it's like, all right, Batman, he's not real, he's from a comic book. But like if Captain Marvel is flying around actually saving people, and like you're dressing up as her, that's gonna like make you not want to be yourself almost. So like I never really thought about it from that perspective.
Yeah,
like she's cosplaying a real person.
It'd be like cosplaying like LeBron, or cosplaying as your favorite like celebrity or something like
It's
that,
so
right?
true. It's so true.
Cosplaying as Chris Hemsworth instead of cosplaying as Thor, right? that is what it is in this world. So it's
basically,
it's a little weird to see. I think it's The Boys explores this a lot, like these superheroes as celebrities in the world and what that would mean. And it's weird to see people cosplaying as these figures when they're just like real life people who actually exist. They're not escapist fictional characters that people just find a connection with and want to express that through cosplaying. So it's a little weird to see people cosplaying as these people within the MCU. I don't know if people would do it the same way, but obviously people do. And so Kamala's figuring out, like, when she has this ability to power up, like, does she need to just be like a replicant of Carol Danvers? No, she doesn't need to be. She can be her own thing. And I think that's what she's discovering on the show. And I think it's really cool to explore those themes of what it means to be a fandom. And as Marvel YouTubers, I mean, I feel seen watching the show, because we have learned in interviews that the actress who plays Kamala Khan, Iman Vellani, is herself a major Marvel nerd. She keeps a notebook filled with MCU trivia and questions and just like factoids about the MCU. And Sagar, who plays Kamala's older brother, Amir, actually, we've chatted a few times in real life. I saw him at the Multiverse of Madness premiere.
What?
I think we're Facebook friends. I'm not really sure. He's a friend of a friend through like the UCB comedy scene in LA. And we chatted a couple times. He confirmed to me that Iman watches new Rockstars videos. Iman, if you're watching, great job on Miss Marvel.
Iman,
You're a delight.
hello. You're wonderful. Hello. Thank
Hopefully
you for
we
watching
can
us.
get, I think we're going to try to get some of these actors on the show if we can.
Please.
On the channel.
Iman, if you want to come on the show, we will like love to
anytime.
have you.
We'll move heaven and earth. Yeah. I mean, really anyone from the show.
Yes,
we're gonna
anyone.
get you on if
we
can.
love you all.
But you can totally see when you watch the show how Kamala, the character, absolutely exists in a world where Marvel YouTube theories just run wild. So like, it almost feels like we're about to get referenced when you watch the show.
Oh my
or maybe
God.
we are.
I would throw up in happiness.
Yeah.
I would be like, what?
Yeah. So in addition to the, no, it almost feels like when Jimmy Woo wrote hexagons on the dry erase board, right? It's like, is he watching our videos? When did they add that in? Like, it's kind of creepy. Or in Loki, episode 5, when classic Loki said, like, basically his backstory was exactly a theory we talked about on this channel. Like, it just feels like the worlds are overlapping now. And it's kind of exciting, terrifying, but exciting.
Bro, if I see like an Erik Voss sticker like on Miss Marvel's binder or something, I'm going to freak out.
I'm going to lose my mind. Yeah, it's going to be... Yeah. So I just think in addition to all the important conversations that are happening on this series, like obviously what it means to be a Pakistani American Muslim and the representation that we can all learn from by having this character now in the MCU, obviously that's going to be an important theme on the show. But I also just think it's conversation about Marvel fandom is going to be one that I think we're all going to feel sharp pangs of familiarity from. And I think it's going to be something we absolutely should explore and talk more about. But I'll leave it there for now. I don't want to say too much about the plot and what happens on this show. I think it's a fun thing for you to discover yourself. So we'll leave it there for this episode of Inside Marvel. But next week on Wednesday, bright and early. MT and I are going to have our reactions to episode 1 here on the channel in our Inside Marvel After Show. So just so you know, we're going to be doing simultaneous content for Miss Marvel and for Obi-Wan Kenobi. The fact that I think I'm going to be able to get MT to be able to see episode 1 a little early, we should be able to get the Inside Marvel Miss Marvel reaction up first thing next Wednesday the 8th. The Obi-Wan Kenobi Wookiee Leaks reaction will come out a little bit later in the day because we don't get that right away. Tommy and I don't. We get it when you guys do. So yeah, we're gonna figure it all out. You're gonna get all your content. Yeah, I think we have a big enough team now to where we can handle it all. So,
but if Marvel, if you want to move one of those shows to a different day, it'd be great.
We won't complain. We won't complain. Great. So don't forget to check out our many great merch options over at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me at EA Voss. Follow MT at MasterTainment. Subscribe to Inside Marvel wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Love you guys. Bye.